Two of the phrases of this time are social distancing and self-isolation. And it's really important that we hear and heed the guidelines, instructions and regulations that have been issued by the government as we seek to restrict and limit the spread of the coronavirus. However, I want to remind and reassure you that God doesn't want us to be socially distant from Him or to be self-isolated from Him. That's clear in so many ways as we read the scriptures, and it's very clear in the story that Jesus told about the father and two sons. The younger son came to his father and asked for his share of the inheritance, and then he went off and lived as he pleased, and all was fine until the money ran out. He then decided to return home to his father, where he was welcomed home with joy and delight. The older brother, though, had stayed at home with his father. And yet there's a sense in which both of them were socially distant and self-isolated from their father. And what's true for them can also be true for us. Some of us may have turned away from God, drifted away from God, and yet God wants us to return to Him and to know a living and loving relationship with Him. Some of us may have already returned, asked for forgiveness and put our faith and trust in Jesus and know that relationship with God. Others may still have to do that. And if that's you, I really want to encourage you to turn back to God so that we're not socially distant from Him or self-isolated from Him. The older brother, though, although he was at home, had allowed barriers to develop, barriers of annoyance, grievance, which marred his relationship with his father and made him, in a sense, socially distant and self-isolated from his father. And yet God doesn't want that either. And so it's important that we aren't socially distant or self-isolated from God. And God has made it possible for all of us to know that restored relationship with God, because He sent His Son into the world to suffer and die on the cross, and He offers forgiveness of sin to all who turn to Him and put their trust in Him. So at this time, let's not be socially distant from God. Let's not be self-isolated from God. But let's turn to God. Let's draw near to God, that we may know mercy and grace in this time of need.